Please welcome to the stage President of RPAG and FlexPath Strategies, Nick Della Vedova.
Good morning, everyone. Gosh, I was listening to Matt and Kellen. I thought to myself, how do I get all my retirement savings invested in FlexPath? And I was just like, how am I going to do that? And I forgot it is. So I'm definitely a believer. The other aspect of this is it was not planned, but that was a really young Steve Jobs, wasn't it? And it's incredible the wisdom that he has provided all of us. And I'm going to talk about practice management, and everything I say is a roadmap, but like many roadmaps, there are different ways to getting to the same destination. So it's not a rote roadmap, but it's something that might give you some ideas about how you approach running your business. And within the crowd, we recognize there are people that own their businesses. We recognize people that work a part of large organizations, and you're a part of the division. Much of this applies across any type of business that we are all growing. The idea, though, is it's going to be a roadmap for sustainable growth, meaning you're going to have to invest in the business, in your division, in order to continue to grow. And I actually didn't plan this, but now this is not a young Steve Jobs. But if you really look closely, most overnight success took a long time. An example of that would actually be FlexPath. Vince and I kid, and it was a great industry-changing opportunity to enhance participant outcomes. But candidly, it was 20 years in the making. And that 20 years was developing relationships with all of you. So we have the assets to do something. Second, the relationships with the money managers to really make an impact on an ongoing basis. So in many instances, many of you are 20-year overnight successes. And we just wanted to share a little bit about our insights of how we've grown our businesses, and you can take a little away from here. So as I mentioned, it's about sustainable growth. We see many advisors hit a peak and plateau. And what we ultimately want you doing is doing what you love most. I was talking to an advisor last night that he loves to work with clients. He loves to go out on new sales opportunities. He's candidly kind of tired of running a business. And when you're looking at that, it's very important to also recognize that things evolve. So I actually did a similar presentation in 2018. And now we're in 2023, and as we all know, the world's changed significantly. It's changed significantly in human engagement. We all recognize that there's more Microsoft Teams or Zoom calls today with your clients. We recognize that employees are looking for more flexibility, and it's really also creating efficiencies. So instead of having to get in your car or on a plane to go see your clients every quarter, you're ultimately doing a lot of that virtually, and it's changed the game. So what I'd say is that costs have definitely increased as it comes to human capital, but it's also something that we've become more efficient with our client engagement. So when I mentioned that advisor was a little, I'll say, overrunning his own business, I wonder why, because there just aren't that many things to run a business, right? I mean, marketing, sales, accounting, client service, office management, office space, accounts payable, recruiting. Congratulations. It takes a lot to run a business. It takes a lot to run a division. It takes a lot to make successful organizations. And that's why business structure is important. So when you really think about any type of business, you have sales and marketing, you have service, and you have operations, and are all of the utmost importance. And it's important to pay attention to all these different parts of the business, or at least have someone in your office take accountability for all the different pieces of the business. So often we see that an advisor gets into the business, or they start, what we're finding is a lot of times it's a wealth management business getting into retirement, it's an employee benefits firm getting into retirement, it's a P&C firm getting retirement. So you have no clients, so what else? What are you going to do? You're going to spend all your time selling and very little time servicing and little to the operations because you don't have any clients to really deal with. But over time, you spend more time servicing your clients and less time selling new clients to a point where you've been maxed out. You no longer have any more time to go out and sell new clients. And what we like to refer, I don't know if any of you have read the Michael E. Gerber book, E-Myth Revisited. It's a great book. It's been around forever. But if your business depends on you, you don't own a business, you have a job. If your business depends on you, you don't own a business, you have a job. I said it twice for a reason, because oftentimes this is what occurs. And it's the worst job in the world because you're working for a lunatic. So just keep that in mind, and we've seen it so many times. So how do you enable your organization to continue to sell and grow? And you have to hire people. And one of the most important questions we always receive is, who should I hire? Should it be a salesperson? Should it be a service person? Should it be an operations person? Should it be a wealth manager potentially? And that's a new chair, because a lot of the organizations that we've worked with have definitely expanded into wealth management. And actually, Jesse Taylor and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago. And sales are going very well for RPAG. And Jesse said, you know what, I think we need a new salesperson. So we sat down for about 45 minutes and talked about the structure of our RPAG sales team, what they're doing, how they could be more efficient. And we landed on actually saying, you know what, we're going to have a dedicated operations person helping yourself and the team. And the way I look at it is, the best people that we have in sales for RPAG are Jesse Taylor and Luke Vandermillen. How can we make them more successful? And that's an example of the types of processes and ideas and thoughts and discussions you're going to want to have within your own internal team, even if it's yourself. And you're thinking about it inside your own mind to understand, how do I get the most efficiency out of what I have? And how can I gain efficiencies by hiring someone moving forward? So we created a spreadsheet, and again, you're going to have access to all this information after this conference. And in the spreadsheet, we basically looked at the revenue of an organization and kind of what the structure would be. How many employees? How many service people would you have, et cetera? So the first milestone revenue, I'm going to say, is $500,000. The average client has $12,500 in annual revenue. This team, what we've seen as best practice, would have one administrative person on the team with an average cost, again, that's been much more costly than in the past. And then the owner or the leader of the division. Again, that's we recognize there's a lot of different types of organizations in the group. You're always going to have overhead, whether that's the travel expense, whether that's the broker-dealer RIA expense. So you're going to have a profit margin of 52%. And that's what I love in talking to organizations and say, oh, my margins are 50, 60%. Oftentimes when your margins are that large, it's difficult to grow, because what that's telling me, again, is you have a job, not necessarily a business. And over time, in order to grow your revenue, you're going to have to invest in people. So fast forward to $1 million a year in revenue organization, it's probably going to have four team members, 2 admin, a service person, and yourself. But look, the margins are 41%. So now the business owner is saying, oh, my margins are less. Yes, that's going to be a part and a fact of life. As you grow, your margins will go down for a time. And then at $3 million, your margin's at 32%. And you have 12 employees. So this, again, gives you a roadmap of how you can potentially grow your business and who to hire when. I had an acquisition that we worked with that had actually a $3 million business with 50% margins. And oftentimes people ask, well, I'm going to get a better evaluation. At some point, organizations that are in the M&A business actually will discount your margin because they just know it's not sustainable. It's not going to be sustainable in their organization. And the organization that I'm referring to, yes, they had 50% margin, but it was a husband and wife team. So it was really like two team members that were helping drive that margin so aggressively. So when you look at margins over time, as I mentioned, about the most profitable in general, the most profitable organization as a percentage is the $500,000 a year advisor. And the margin will decrease over time, but you have to invest in your business to grow. That's all there is to it. And that is with human capital and talented team members. So human capital management, we wanted to spend a few minutes on that, talking about recruiting, motivating, retaining. You saw Veronica Lee talk about Kenyon's Companions yesterday. What a great presentation, Veronica. Thank you. That got a lot of goosebumps for everyone. So actually, I want to give you a round of applause, so thank you so much. Well, I'm up here talking about human capital management. Veronica Lee has taught me a lot about human capital management and recruiting, motivating, and retaining. She has been a master of that with the 3 organizations that we've grown in this industry over the years. But if you've ever had an interview recently, and not to pick on any age group, but a little humor here. I don't mean to frighten you, but you will have to do some actual work. That's crazy talk. So maybe some of the interviews that you've recently interviewed recently, maybe this has had you scratch your head. But there are talented people out there that do want to work and do want to grow and do want to be intellectually stimulated. So in recruiting, where do I find people? Where do we find people? Third-party recruiters. We mentioned CPS. Matthew Eli is here. He's helped us numerous times. As a matter of fact, he helped us with one of our most recent hires for RPAG. Reputation with service providers. I am going to get on my soapbox for a second here. And if you're treating the record keeper partners like vendors, you're not only doing a disservice to them, you're doing a disservice to yourself. And one of the main reasons is that when you're looking for a talented team member, and if you treat them like a record-keeping partner and you say, hey, do you know anyone that might help me in this role? They're going to be delighted to help you. And frankly, they know everyone in the industry locally. Whereas if you treat them like a vendor and you grind them for every basis point and you make that same call, do you think they're going to say, wow, I want to help this person be more successful? The answer is no. So reputation with service providers is so critical for the longevity of your business. So just keep that in mind. I'm sure all of you treat them like record-keeping partners, but if that's a gray area, you might want to work on that. Indeed is another great resource that Veronica Lee and team uses to attract and through our recruiting process. And what we like to say is bright and energetic, because in order to have sustainable growth, you're going to need people that evolve within your organization. And the last thing that you're wanting is to train someone to have them go somewhere else because they feel like there's nowhere to go. But as your organization grows, that means your team members can grow along with that in their roles. So you might hire someone for an administrative role, but you know that they have the desire and the talent to potentially become a service person or a salesperson. We've had the most success promoting within versus trying to grab people from out. And that has created the talent path that many team members are looking for. And it's worked very successfully in growing an organization over time to achieve your ultimate goals. Motivating. This one comes in a few different roles, but company success equals financial success. Whether how big or small, please allow your advisors or your team members to participate in the growth. So if you have a great year, their bonus is more. If you don't have as good of a year, their bonus is less. So they feel the ups and downs as well, and it really allows everyone to feel that they have a common goal. We've evolved to what we call a multi-year compensation plan because, as we know, the market's very competitive. So we're going to hire someone at a certain dollar amount We tell them, hey, if you're here in a year, it's going to be this dollar amount, at least. If you're here in 2 years, it's going to be this dollar amount, at least. So they have an understanding that their compensation will grow over time being a part of your team. And they're all looking, I shouldn't say they're all looking for advancement opportunities. The people that you're probably wanting to attract are looking for advancement opportunities. So again, make sure that they understand that you're a growing, thriving organization. And it's also okay to say, hey, I don't know exactly where you're going to be in 3 years, because new things will come up that we haven't even created. And then maybe you can share with them a couple examples of prior experiences where that has happened. So for us, frankly, when we were hiring, one would be Kellen Foley. I remember saying to Kellen, hey, you're a bright, talented individual. We want you on the team. We don't know what's going to be going on in 3 years, but we know that it's going to be something, and it's going to be a dynamic place for you. Guess what? This thing called FlexPath came along, and I think Kellen's been pretty motivated to have that advancement opportunity for himself. Retaining employees. Understand you will not have 100% retention. And that was one of my things that I had to understand, because at first when we were growing at the time, 401k advisors, we didn't necessarily bat 1,000 in our hiring practices, and no one is. So don't beat yourself up over it. It's just a fact that you're not going to have 100% retention. And frankly, if you do have 100% retention, are you really, because none of us necessarily are perfect. So maybe you shouldn't have 100% retention. Avoid temperamental superstars. It's not worth it. You hire this great salesperson that only thinks about themselves. They're really hard on your service team. They're really hard on your operations team. It's all about me, 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 me. You know what? They might light it up for a couple years, but they'll probably end up going somewhere else. And you probably want them to go somewhere else because it's going to be a drain on your team. So please avoid temperamental superstars. Mutual respect and transparent culture. And oftentimes, when you read that, you probably think, yeah, I as an organization need to have mutual respect for my team members. And that is true, that you need to have respect to your team members. But candidly, I would say that most of you do. Your team members need to have respect for you and your organization. And that's frankly where I've seen more changes over the last few years, that a lot of team members are maybe not giving you or your team the respect they deserve. And there's a lot of different ways of gaining that respect, and you do it politely, but you do make sure that you gain the respect of your team members as well, because it is mutual. It's not just us respecting them and their time and their personal matters. It's them respecting the business that we're running to create success for everyone on an ongoing basis. Have fun. At the end of the day, you can tell that we like to have fun. We love this conference. We love it being social. This is a social group. And ultimately, let your team know that you're a human being, they're human beings, and that you're interested in them. And as much as client, what they say, clients don't hear what you say clients don't care what you say until they know that you care. And it's similar with employees. You can be a great organization, you can have a lot of success, but ultimately everyone wants to know that they're cared about. And so I'm just letting all of RPAG's team that's done a terrific job today and over this conference that we care about you. We're looking out for you even when you don't realize that. And I know that we're doing that for all the RPAG members as well. So those are a few snippets of guidance and thoughts of how we built 3 very successful businesses. And we look forward to every single one of you continuing to build your businesses and having success as well. So thank you, everyone.